Another week, another Heresy release.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and in this video, we're gonna unbox and build, and also show you how to magnetize the Deimos pattern Predator battle tag for Horus Heresy, or you could use it for Space Marines too, because it is a better version than the actual Rhino itself, which I think I have a Rhino. Oh, I do have a Predator here. We'll have to pause the video at some point and compare the two kits together from back in the day. So this is a $60 kit from Games Workshop, or excuse me, $65 kit from Games Workshop. You know, that price, well, there's a lot to be said for that price. I remember when Predators and Rhinos, for that matter, cost $30, but that was 20 years ago, of course. You know, maybe 22 at this point. Who knows when the first plastic, well, the Mark III came out. So there's something to be said for that too, I suppose. But everything's kind of wonky in 2020. This kit actually only has two new sprues that we haven't seen yet already. And if you remember when we were talking about the Deimos pattern Rhino, I was like, the way it looks, they can probably just put a new top plate sprue and a new weapon sprue or turret weapon sprue in here, and they have a brand new kit, and they can do it for the Predator. And actually, if they want to make more variants, all they got to do is switch out this sponson right here now, and we could get a lot more variants for the Predator too, and eventually, you know, maybe come out with a complete kit with all the variants in it, like they tend to do with the Knights and the Armigers and the things like that. So I wouldn't put it past Games Workshop if we saw another Predator. I really don't know if that's in the cards or what even the timetable would be on it. So here's the accessory sprue. We already saw this. Here's the sponson sprue. Now this is the same one that came with the Kratos and also the Sicaran, or Sicaran, whatever you want to call it. Apparently people hate the way I call Sicaran, but I've called it the same thing for a number of years, and you know what? I'm just going to keep calling it the Sicaran. You're going to have to deal with it. And then here's the bottom, or the main Rhino chassis here, and this is kind of how they made it so they could use it for either the Rhino or the Predator, because you just basically slot in the stuff here, whether it's a true patch or the sponson mounts for that. So that's just kind of explains everything in a nutshell. Now, what I forgot about, I suppose in the back of my mind, I had realized it, because this kit has 3 different turret options, and of course it has all the sponson options, but I've already showed you how you can make that modular. So we need to figure out a way to magnetize the turret, which will be pretty interesting, I think, because it looks very, very weird. So here's the Deimos pattern Predator battle tank instructions, and then here you can see they slot in this little panel that I just showed you on the top of that sprue, and that's how they get everything. So if you've done a Deimos kit, pretty much all of this is normal. Now I will say this kit is it's got its good and it's got its bad. And its good is that it's modular and you can do a lot of things with it. The bad is that the tolerances are way too tight. Like Games Workshop, you know, they have really great designs and everything, but this one they didn't. I don't feel like, you know, they always 3D print their stuff, because all the painted versions, I mean, you could see it. Well, I saw it in the close-up of the painted image. Maybe it's not on this. Oh yeah, actually it was on this when it was zoomed in. I could tell the print striations on this. All of every painted model you see from Games Workshop, with the exception of like maybe some 20-30 year old stuff, you know, that was old pewter miniatures, are 3D printed masters or 3D printed prototypes. And what I'm disappointed about with the Deimos pattern is when they 3D printed this out, they must have realized that the tolerances were way too tight, but I don't know if they're in the production already, because this piece right here, you're sliding it into where it goes, and if you've put together the old Rhino or the old Predator, and I say old because it was the first, you know, super good plastic one that wasn't the very original ones from, you know, the late 80s, this is very tight. It's very tight. It's unnecessarily tight. Also, you have to shave down these stems on this thing right here on the hatch, because it won't move freely, because the tolerances are so tight on this. They didn't factor in tolerances to actually, you know, use the moving parts and actually put this piece into here. And some of the stuff on the smokestacks, it gets a little weird too, but if you use the super thin Tamiya glue, which I got right here, you can get around a lot of that, so don't worry about that. But for the most part, everything also went together okay on the Deimos. Now, here's what's going to be different, is the top. Well, actually, I suppose the top turret right here that I should have just talked about. This bracket piece right here. This is going to be different, and then the sides are going to be different, but everything else it will be the same for the most part. And then you get to the turret weapons, and you know, they basically kind of tell you, hey, you know, put this together left and right. They got a little sensors and things, but then it gets a little wonky because see this piece right here, which in the Sicaran battle tank, it didn't quite, you couldn't raise the guns up and down very well, and in this it looks like it's designed a little bit better. They say don't glue it, but you glue the rest of the ring around here though, so just keep that in mind. This isn't like a snap together. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to assemble this snap together or not to show you where we put all the magnets and things on the inside, but just kind of keep that in mind. In what it looks like, there's this notch here, and then that notch goes into the back of the weapon mounts for each of the individual weapons. And then it also looks like their ammo areas, their rear ammo areas that go on the back of the turret, those are going to attach to each other, but also attach onto the back here somehow. And I'm not exactly sure how yet, but it seems like some of them, like it always uses the right half of the regular one here, and then the left half is either some sort of power plant or some sort of I don't know what this, that's just a normal one for the Gravis Las cannon, and then there's like this Volkite sort of thing. So that'll be pretty interesting, because now we're working with curves and we're working with like areas, like recessed areas that the backs might not be all uniform. And then this specific mount right here, this piece E17 is the same as this one here for the Volkite. So unless they put two of these in here, which we could find out right this second, then we're gonna have some issues with having to figure out how to magnetize, and it looks like there is two of those. So there's 4 weapons, and there's 4 weapon plates on the back, which is good. So we don't have to worry about that. And then all this we've showed you before many times. You don't have to glue this in, but you can put a little of that super thin Tamiya glue on these stems right here, so they can just kind of push fit into each other. So just keep doing that as you're assembling things. And then rocket pods, drivers, all the stuff from the accessory sprue, whatever you want, you can put it in there. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to dig out my old Predator so we can compare it and get building. So here's the mostly finished product. As you can see, that we don't have the turret weapons on there. Now, like I was saying on the back, you can see this is way too tight, just absolutely too tight, and I would say shamefully too tight. I mean, like I said, Games Workshop designs are very forward-thinking and very innovative in a lot of cases, but this is very disappointing to see this happening on the Deimos Rhino and then also the Predator as well. It's just, you have to cut it down, and you have to shave it down, or just glue it shut. But, you know, I don't know why they did that. It's a little frustrating. And then this piece right here is very, very tough to kind of get in there. So just be aware of that when you're putting all this stuff together. This, we showed you this before. Actually, I have the spare peg right here because I put another coat of glue on it because I wasn't super happy with how it's holding. But this is how you can swap these out. You can just push these pegs in there with a little, once you put a couple coats of this glue on there and let it dry. Obviously, don't let it dry inside because then you can't switch it. But these are the exact same ones that are from the Sicaran, and then also the Kratos battle tank. I guess I need another coat of glue on that one. Sometimes things are difficult, or maybe I didn't put it in right. Either way, I'm not gonna sweat it, because I'll be honest with you, these are actually from the Kratos. I didn't put these together. We didn't spend the time putting these together, unfortunately, because we're trying to crank out this video. You can also see where this is kind of cantered a little bit because the tolerances are so tight. If you get any little bit of shavings or something like that in there, it will throw off your whole assembly, so just be super careful with that, which isn't very different from the old Rhino chassis. From when I say old, the 22-year-old one right here. But the one good thing about this design, it does have a working hatch in the back that is no fuss, no muss, so I definitely like that. So we'll get to size comparisons here in a second, but I wanted to show you what we ended up doing for this turret here. So to magnetize everything in this turret, and I also messed something up, and I'm going to explain to you what I should have done, and then hopefully you guys won't make the same mistake as me. So there's a nub here. It's almost like a little Predator mohawk, so to speak, and I shaved that down. I was like, you know what, I'm going to put a magnet in here. It's going to be all good. But what I didn't realize was that it needed 2 magnets worth of attraction power for the most part. I don't necessarily think it would, but if I had left that little Mohawk's piece right there, and on these I cut out little not tin strip, but galvanized tin or steel, I don't even know, some sort of galvanized metal from HVAC ductwork. If I had left this area right here and just made 2 little strips to where the nub or the Mohawk from this would actually lock into where it was supposed to lock in on this bit, I think it would be a bit more sturdier, because then the magnet in here would still attract, and it attracts, and don't get me wrong, it works just fine, but you can't traverse the up and down. You can't go to because it's not gripping. It's just the force of the magnet isn't that strong. So is it functional? Yeah, it looks good, and you can swap all your weapons out and everything, but you can't go brr, 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 which is kind of half the fun for magnetizing and doing all this stuff, which was a little disappointing for me, and maybe that's something somebody else can figure out a little bit better. Now, speaking of more magnets on the inside, so here's what we used basically for everything. 1/4 inch by 1/16 inch deep magnets from Magnet Baron. I always get my stuff from him just because I like supporting people in the hobby here. So we put 2 of those in the back right about so, and 2 of those in the back right about there, and then 1 inside this notch here that traverses. And remember, don't glue this down either. And I did that before I assembled the turret. So you want to put your magnet in here before you assemble the turret, and then back here before you put this bottom on. It's just super more helpful. I mean, you could do it, but it's just a lot more work. And then what that allowed was that these back ammo halves, now you can just kind of connect them, and I'll show you how I did that. So for this particular one right here, we just put 2 of the same magnet, the 1/4 inch magnet in there, no big deal. And there's actually a notch, which I think is pretty ingenious. Like I said, GW has really good designs a lot of times, and sometimes they just don't follow the basics. So there's this little notch right here that it just goes into, and then even this one, see this raised area right here, this little almost like a up and down, like a step almost, that actually will sit on there too. Well, if you, not so much without the magnet, but you get what I'm saying. And then in here, what we did was I put 1 of those magnets in the back. You can see it right there before I glued this down. And then I took 2 smaller magnets, and I think this is the only place I used these on, was some 1/8 inch by 1/16 inch magnets, just 2 of them. And I just put them in right there because the problem I was having was this was torquing, or it was twisting when this attached. That would just kind of twist and it wouldn't stay connected. So I put some right there so it gets the extra force coming in, and then on the side too, and it keeps it pretty centralized. And I think on some of these, and let's check the other ones. Nope, this one was close enough. So on the Volkite weapon, you're supposed to use this other side too. That one goes on just fine with 1 magnet in there. And then on this one, oh, this is the one I did it on. So I put 1 magnet and 1 of those littler magnets right there just to get it closer to the actual surface here so it would stick. And you can see it's not jiggling. And then that one locks into there. So all of these, like I said, they stay on for the most part. This one gets a little wonky because it's so long. But if you have it on the Predator, it might not look that bad, I suppose. You just can't like lift it up and down and things. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look bad. It kind of looks like it's aiming down. But I'm not too tore up about it. Just for the fact that I know if I had to build a second, I could probably do it a little better. There you can kind of see. So, you know, it stays on. It's not the best design. I think the longer the barrel, the more problems you're gonna have, but you can always just kind of scoot it up a little bit, and then it just does its thing. It really, the magnet attraction is a little bit better there. And then the turret traverses, everything works good. All of these on the side are pretty good, so no problems with that. And then this is what it looks like with the, I guess they call this a Gravis Las now. It's kind of cool. There's a Gravis Las. Well, now it won't stay. I definitely think we're looking at keeping that nub on there would have been a little bit better, but like I said, I thought I was going to get better attraction in there. You could, in some cases, put a magnet in here, but there just isn't enough space. With this one, there might be, but with the other ones, there really isn't. So I guess you could just kind of play it by ear and kind of see what you can get to fit where. And then this one kind of fits on just as good as well. Now, how does it compare to the older Predator? Well, let's take a look at it. So here's the older Predator, and it pains me to say that because I put many of these Mark IIIs together in my day, but it sizes up pretty well. Definitely right about the same size. It's a little bit thinner on here. You can tell when they get the computers and everything going, they can definitely get the tolerances and things a little bit tighter, which is really cool to see. And then from the side, it's about the same size, and the treads are laid out about the same, but like I said, things are a little bit smaller because they're able to kind of miniaturize the design and things a bit right there. So overall, you know, if you needed a Horus Predators for a Horus Heresy and you didn't want to get the forge roll one and stuff because they were too expensive with all the upgrades and things, at $65, I guess you can't really complain about that price compared to forge rolled. But like I said, I remember when these things were like 30. Maybe the Predator was a little bit more, I suppose, but I definitely remember the Rhino. I think even the Razorback was the same price, which blew my mind because you got an extra sprue in it. It's just a little weird to go from my memory of that price to $65 for this one right here. But again, you know, it makes sense in GW money. Does it make sense in real money? I guess that's really up to you and maybe why you're watching these videos. So overall, you can magnetize it. You can definitely get your value and your money's worth out of this thing right here just because of the fact that you can make it modular. You can probably improve on my design on the turret here and have a lot of fun with this. And I'm not sure how good these are on Heresy. I haven't even played a game in the new edition yet, unfortunately. But you know, the people used them a lot in the last edition, so I could see where maybe they're still good there. So if you have any comments or questions about it, leave it below and I'll try to do my best to answer. But I think I pretty much covered all the major points right there. So that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our unboxing build of the new Deimos pattern Predator for Horus Heresy, and you could use it, of course, in games of Warhammer 40k as well. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos. If you liked that video feature, consider supporting us over at Patron.com and get back in the mail each month a miniature crate full of some of the stuff we review here, as well as some of the top 3D artist designs out there too to help support what they're doing. Plus, discount coupon codes from some of those same manufacturers. They're yours to keep, whether you cancel or stay on. It's totally up to you. Obviously, we want to keep you as happy as possible. So check it out over at patreon.com/spikybits.